can't wait for you to hear my conversation with longtime Colts backup quarterback Jim Sorgi, who was there when Peyton Manning was a Colt and also when Frank Reich was on the coaching staff. I wanted to gauge his reaction to the hiring of Frank Reich. So, Jim, when you heard that one of your former coaches and Colts interns was going to be the new head coach, what was your reaction?
Yeah, I was absolutely ecstatic about the hire of Coach Frank Reich. I think he's the right man for the job for the Colts organization. From what I know about him, what I was able to learn about him, studying underneath him when he was a quarterback coach at Indianapolis, I'm very excited about this. And when the whole Josh McDaniels thing happened, he decided not to come here. I heard the candidates the Colts were looking at, Dan Campbell, Leslie Frazier, and when I heard the name Frank Reich, I instantly knew in my head that he would be the right man for the job, that he was going to be the next head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. And I think it's a home run hire for the Colts, and I think there's some good years to come here in Indianapolis with him at the helm.
Frank hasn't been a head coach before, so this will be his first shot at it. But he's worked in a variety of systems with multiple coaches as well as multiple quarterbacks. Maybe people don't realize the kind of man he is, though. So as someone who worked with him extensively, Jim, how would you describe Frank's character and personality?
Well, a great coach, but a better man. And first and foremost, great character, great integrity. He's not going to be a yeller and a screamer, but he is going to hold players accountable. He's going to be a detail-oriented guy. He's going to work tirelessly from, sun up to sundown to be on the P's and Q's, cross the T's, dot the I's, to get this team prepared to play football and to win. And that's what I love about him. What I really like about him from my time spent with him is that I enjoyed being in the room with him. There's something about being a former player as a coach that just automatically gives you a respect of the former player, of the players, just because you've been there, you've done it, especially a former quarterback, being in the quarterback room, being offensive coordinator or head coach, because he's been through the trials and tribulations of a quarterback. So you can lean on him. And another thing I like is he's not going to necessarily tell you the way it needs to be. It's going to be a collaborative effort between all parties, players, coaches, to come up with the right plan, the right play, for the right situation to win football games. It's not going to be it's my way or the highway. It's what do you think about this? What do you think we can do here? I think this will work. What do you think? And it's like all the offensive minds put together to come up with the best for play for that situation or the best game plan for that week. And that's why I think he's such a great coach. He's going to be the main voice coming out of the Colts organization as the head coach, but there's going to be a lot of collaborative effort between the players and the coaches to get the right plays in, to have the right game plan for the team they're going to play that week.
Well, I'm glad you used the word collaborate and also collaboration, because I'm not sure the coaching staff for the Eagles, which included Frank, is getting enough credit for preparing the offense to go from Carson Wentz to Nick Foles. They had not even 2 months to get a new quarterback ready and to get the offense ready to operate with someone who's completely different from Carson Wentz. So knowing what you know of Frank and his style, how much effort went into getting that offense to the point where it could win a Super Bowl?
Well, I did hear a lot of talk when Carson Wentz got hurt. And, first of all, you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Reich, Coach DeFilippo, and head coach Doug Peterson by getting the development of Carson Wentz from year 1 to year 2 to where he was an MVP candidate for probably the front runner for most of the season until he had his injury. Now in steps Nick Foles. I think we can all agree Nick Foles didn't have a great end to the regular season. They were winning football games, but he was not playing that well. It was almost like they were winning in spite of the quarterback. So what did they do? I heard the story. They went back. They watched film from the 2013 season where he had a phenomenal year, went to the Pro Bowl, won a bunch of games, threw a bunch of touchdowns, didn't throw many interceptions. And they implemented some of those things in the playoffs and allowed him to play freely, to have fun, to feel more comfortable. And he goes out there and shines in the postseason. And I think it's that kind of stuff that makes you a great coach. Frank has been around the best in the game. He coached the Peyton Manning. He coached Reggie Wayne and Marvis Harrison at the wide receiver group. He coached Phillip Rivers, Larry Fitzgerald. So he's coached those veterans, but he's also done it with the younger guys in the league, like a Carson Wentz. So the sky's the limit with what he can do with a healthy Andrew Luck here in Indianapolis. And I just think that wealth of knowledge and those kind of adjustments that they were able to make in Philly this year will bode well for this team here in Indianapolis and the city and the fans. And it's going to be fun to watch.
We're spending a few minutes with longtime Colts backup QB Jim Sorgi, who also had a chance to work with Frank Reich in the quarterback room for several years while Frank was on the Colts staff. It's After Hours with Amy Lawrence on CBS Sports Radio. Inside the Colts fan base, it's been a roller coaster ride because they got jilted by Josh McDaniels, and now they find out a few days later that Frank Reich is coming home, so to speak. So how have they received this news about the actual official head coaching hire?
Yeah, it's almost I think the people around here kind of see it as like a blessing in disguise, that it happened when it did and didn't happen later on, whether it would be the first year, the first couple of years down the road. It's almost like rather him not come here if he didn't want to be here and get the right man for the job. But there's been nothing but praise and positivity coming from the fans, players. Everybody that's played for him has granted him well wishes. I think when you get the endorsement of a Tony Dungy, a Peyton Manning, a Bill Polian, guys that have been very successful in this league, Hall of Fame successful, endorsing this guy to be the head coach, that tells you a lot about him, about what he's able to bring to the table.
Obviously, so much of the Colts' success is tied to Andrew Luck and his health. So among Colts fans, is there trepidation? Is there this nervousness about whether or not he'll ever return to the Luck we saw the first few years of his career?
Yeah, there's nothing but optimism there. Obviously, there's a little bit of uncertainty of where he's at, how he's feeling. Throwing-wise, is he throwing? If not, when is he going to throw? Is he going to be ready for the offseason, be ready for training camp in the regular season? But I think with the move that the Colts made last year, obviously the intent is for Andrew to be the starting quarterback, lead this team to the promised land, be fantastic and make plays and get us back to the AFC Championships, the Super Bowls, and win championships. The goal is for him to be back. I think there's a pretty good backup plan in Jacoby Brissett. He got a lot of playing time last year. And we've seen what Frank can do with some backup quarterbacks, being a backup his entire career. So, we want Andrew back. The expectation and optimism is that he's going to be back, but we got a pretty good backup plan here in Jacoby Brissett.
It's funny that you mentioned backups. There's a lot of time watching, and so much of the preparation is mental as opposed to physical and actually going out there and getting the reps leading up to a game. So with Frank in mind, how much more can that time watching and serving as a backup prepare you for a situation like this?
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't know is the backup quarterback position is an important position on a football team just because of the fact that you're so involved in the preparation throughout the week. You're involved in the game plan. Normally the starter has you doing odd and end projects, looking for things that the other team might do or show that you haven't really prepared for. At least that's what the case was here in Indy when I was backing up Peyton. So a lot of the preparation is mental from a practice standpoint and a film standpoint, but you know your opponent so well throughout the week because you're doing those kind of things for the starter, for yourself, working on the game plan and the call sheet and the script. And it's almost like a backup quarterback. The speed of the game is what you got to kind of get down when you get in the game, but knowing the game plan, knowing the team you're playing is almost second nature based on the preparation that you've had throughout the week. And I think it's an important role. And I think if you look at Coach Frank Reich, he backed up Jim Kelly for all those years, but he was such an important part of being there for Jim Kelly, being a coach on the sideline. I've heard some of his former teammates and players say that he was ready to go when he got his opportunity. He was prepared. And it's going to be the same way with the teams here. He's going to be prepared. I enjoyed being with him. He taught me a lot how to be a backup, how to be ready for that opportunity when it comes, be embracing your role, because every role on the team is important, but the backup quarterback is supporting the man that's in there and doing whatever you can to make him successful.
In the middle of a conversation with longtime Colts backup QB Jim Sorgi, who spent many hours, lots of time in meeting rooms with both Peyton Manning, who was the primary QB those years in Indianapolis together, but also Frank Reich, who started his career in coaching as an intern under Tony Dungy and then graduated to offensive assistant and also remained under Jim Caldwell. And I couldn't help but taking a tangent on Peyton Manning when I was talking to Jim earlier on Tuesday. He mentioned Peyton a few times, and of course, as his primary backup in Indy, he has the type of perspective and experience with Peyton that most of us would never get, right? So I asked him how much it changed him, Jim, as a quarterback, working with a kind of guy who revolutionized the position like Peyton did.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. When I got to Indianapolis, I was a different type of quarterback. I was very much a reaction-type quarterback, not a whole lot of checking plays, not a whole lot of audibilizing, getting a play, running the play, and then kind of reacting to what the defense gave you. When I got to Indianapolis, I realized there's such a more mental part of the game in terms of getting your offense and getting your team into the right play based on what the defense is giving you and what they're showing you. There's such a game of chess that goes on the football field with a good quarterback against the defense, whether it be the way we used to do things in Indy with the no huddle and getting to the line of scrimmage, getting the defense to try to show something, calling a few plays and being able to check and get everybody on the same page and in the right play. But it was absolutely amazing what I learned from him about the game of football, about what to look for, about what to study, little things too. I'm not talking like big things you can see. Maybe a safety a half a yard closer to the line of scrimmage is a tip that something's going to happen. He was so good at that. He was so good at preparing that we really left no stone unturned, and that's why he was so good. It got to the point where, he was checking to plays that I don't know, that we might have ran once or twice a month ago. He was checking in a game. We hadn't practiced it all week. Other guys were on the same page. We'd run it. We'd be successful. And then that's what made him so great.
When he decides he is ready to start his next career, Jim, what role inside football might be the perfect fit for Peyton?
Well, he can pretty much do whatever he wants, I would imagine, and be successful at it. I've always said I'd like to see him in some sort of an analyst role, so the fans can kind of understand exactly the brilliance and the greatness that goes on in his mind when he's watching football, when he's dissecting the game. But I would imagine when he's ready that he'll be in some capacity running a team, making decisions for the team and things like that. But I always thought he'd be great at being one of those analysts, and it would give the fans a chance to see exactly what made him great and how he can see something and know what's coming before anybody else does.
Well, count me among those people who can't wait until he resurfaces in football in some capacity. Knowing what you know of the Colts' weapons and of Coach Reich, how do you think the offense might look next season?
Well, I'd like to see it, be an up-tempo type of offense. I'd like to see it be similar to what the Eagles did in the playoff run, where they were attacking teams. They attacked the Patriots. They kept the foot on the gas. They were great when they needed to speed things up, maybe a little no huddle, maybe a little up-tempo, but, being able to not only throw the ball and get up-tempo, but be able to huddle and execute that way, run the football, take time off the clock when you need to do that. And I think they got the pieces here to do whatever kind of offense he wants. He's been in so many different offenses with so many different coaches. I think it's going to be kind of like all those offenses put together. But I would love to see him bring the no-huddle back that we ran here in Indianapolis all those years, and we're so successful with it. But he'll be able to jump in and out of it whenever you need to based on what the defense is doing.
Certainly is the start of something brand new in Indianapolis. We're spending a few minutes with Jim Sorgi, longtime Peyton Manning backup and a guy who played under Frank Reich when he was part of the Colts offensive staff the first time. It's After Hours with Amy Lawrence on CBS Sports Radio. So now that the head coach is in place and he's putting his staff together, and we think Andrew Luck could make a positive, strong return this season, how close are the Colts to being a contender again?
Yeah, I think they're extremely close. I've said many times on the radio and on TV where I think they can be one of those teams that jumps from worst to first from one year to the next. Obviously, a lot needs to happen. We got the coach. I think we got the right man at the head coaching spot. We got obviously the right owner that's willing to spend money to make this team great. We got a GM that can handle adversity. We've seen from last week to this week, but can put players in the right situation. So we get with the players, the playmakers we have here already. If we can really hit in free agency with all the money we have to spend, I think it's north of $80 million. If we can do something really good with the with the third overall pick and then the number 3 pick in each round, I think we can really get guys to contribute early, get some of those young guys we had last year step up and get better and keep making plays, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think we can go from one of those teams that is from worst to first from one year to the next. Now, a lot of it has to do with Andrew Luck and how special a football player he is when he's on the field, him being healthy, him getting back to the Andrew Luck of old. But we're optimistic that that's going to happen, and I think we can put more pieces around him and more pieces on defense, and that's what's going to happen with the Colts in 2018.
Jim, it's so good to connect with you. Thank you so much for answering all of my questions. It does feel like it's a good time to be a Colt again.
It's that time. I think you look at the triangle, we got a great owner, we got a great GM, now we got a great head coach, we got some great players. Now it's time for the Indy to get back to one of the elite football teams in the NFL like they were for so many years.
He backed up Peyton Manning with the Indianapolis Colts. He played under a coaching staff that included Frank Reich the first time around with the Colts, and now he has taken over that head job. Jim, thank you so much for a couple of minutes.
Amy, it was great talking to you. You have a great evening.